Have you ever wondered when and how flags came into existence, what their point is, and why every nation has one, why sports fanatics carry their team's colors, and why armies carry one? We first have to go way back in time to the year 3000 BCE to ancient Egypt, when there was no cloth, no stitching, and no colors waving in the wind. Just carved poles and rustic pieces carried by soldiers, topped with carved animals, gods, or even sacred symbols. Not to decorate, but to mark where their leader stood in the middle of total battlefield chaos. Many believe these standards had divine protection, helping commanders identify true positions across dusty battlefields. Historians even have a name for these early non-cloth flags, vexilloids, which are any kind of standard or banner that functions like a flag but technically isn't a flag. But Egypt wasn't alone. Armies in Babylonia and Persia carried their own battle standards around the same era. The oldest vexilloid archaeologists have found is a 4,400-year-old bronze standard from Iran called the Shaghdad standard, discovered in Shaghdad, Iran in 1969, which curiously enough is still intact and sitting in Iran's National Museum today. But while Egypt, Persia, and Babylonia were still carving gods and animals into poles, something different was happening in ancient China. Around 2700 BCE, right around the same era, Chinese civilization discovered silk weaving, creating something no carved standard ever could, a lightweight fabric that actually caught the wind, letting a flag ripple and flutter without any carving at all. It would take thousands more years for that idea to fully take over. Most of the ancient world stuck with carved standards for centuries before cloth became the norm. Later, around 100 BCE, Rome weaponized the idea and turned vexilloids into the vexillum, which is a square piece of cloth fastened to a horizontal crossbar at the top of a spear representing individual army units. This is actually where we get the word vexillology, which is a modern study of flags. For over thousands of years, vexillums mainly represented the military. But then we fast forward to the year 1219 in medieval Europe, Denmark. During the Battle of Lundenese against Estonia, the Danbrog flag mysteriously fell from the sky over Tallinn, Estonia, turning a losing battle into a Danish victory. Although this is likely a myth, the flag itself is still believed to be the oldest continuously used national flag on Earth, with the Guinness World Record of approval. Once Denmark proved the flag could represent an entire kingdom instead of just a battlefield unit, the idea spread fast. Scotland followed with the Saltire. Legend says it appeared in the sky during the Battle of Alshanford in 832 in East Lothian, Scotland. However, real historical records only confirm it as a national symbol starting around the late 1200s, along with Sweden, whose blue and gold cross likely traces possibly to the 1270s, tied to the royal court itself. Then, Austria came next with its own battlefield legend from the Siege of Acre in 1291. Duke Leopold's white surcoat supposedly soaked in blood everywhere except under his belt, leaving behind the red-white-red pattern still flown today. By the late 1500s, the Dutch had introduced the prince's flag during the revolt against Spanish rule, a tricolor that would go on to inspire the flag designs of France and eventually much of the modern world. And the British eventually stitched together three separate Saints' crosses, England's, Scotland's, and Ireland's, into a single Union flag in 1606 and then eventually a Union Jack in 1801. Nepal took an entirely different path, skipping the cross and color formula altogether for two overlapping triangular pennants, becoming the only national flag in the world that is in a rectangle. Every one of these flags, born centuries apart in completely different corners of the world, was answering the same question Denmark had already answered. Not how do we win a battle, but how do we show the world exactly who we are? Once flags became tied to national identity, it was only a matter of time before they showed up in competition. Because what is a sports rivalry if not a peaceful stand in for war? The ancient Olympic Games, dating back to 776 BCE, already used banners and emblems to represent competing city states and honor Zeus, planting the earliest seed of flags in sports. But it wasn't until 1914, nearly 3,000 years later, that Baron Pierre de Coubertin introduced the modern Olympic flag, five interlocking rings representing the inhabited continents of the world. The Olympics flag was first flown at the actual games in Antwerp, Belgium in 1920, where curiously, the flag disappeared but was returned to the committee 80 years later in the year 2000. Moreover, flags took an entirely different job in motorsports, not as a form of identity, but as a form of instruction. Racing flags emerged as a way to communicate instantly with drivers moving at deadly speeds: green for go, yellow for caution, red for stop, and none more iconic than the checkered flag, first photographed ending the 1906 Vanderbilt Cup. Its high contrast pattern chosen simply because it was the easiest to spot through the dust of an early dirt track. and team sports took the concept in yet another direction. Fans didn't just watch anymore, they carried flags into stadiums themselves, waving team colors and pennants as a way of saying, I belong to this, just as fiercely as any medieval knight ever did for a king. Football, or soccer if you're American, is the clearest example. Club emblem flown and waved by fans in stands during every single match, voicing their support the same way a kingdom once rallied behind a banner in battle. In every version of Battlefield Standard, a national flag, an Olympic ring, or a checkered flag, the function never really changed. No matter who you're standing with, one thing has never changed. A flag has always been the fastest way to tell the world exactly who you are. So, which flag is your favorite? Comment below in the comment section and please don't forget to like and subscribe.